And you know what I'll say? It's because you're all so fucking rude.
As I have rewatched Netflix's Castlevania, time and time again, I have found one bit of information extremely entertaining. On each rewatch, you notice more and more. The voice acting and the animation become clearer on what they are trying to depict. You feel yourself being pulled in more and more, like it's one long storytime event. The show is extremely well done, and while not everything follows the game's storyline, it doesn't need to. They are making an exemplary self-contained story from the source material. Sometimes things are slow, sometimes they pick up, but it's never uninteresting. You've seen my video on the tragic story of Hector, and if you haven't, there should be a link above. Now, we move on to the next big topic. We're going to talk about the monster that is Isaac, or at least so we are led to believe. Isaac is one of 2 Forge Masters under Dracula's orders, and with that being said, he is one of the only 2 humans on Dracula's court. Before we dive into exactly who Isaac is, and why he decided to join Dracula's court to eradicate all humans, we must first look at what a Forge Master is, and how Isaac grew up. Forge Masters are sorcerers who are not only trained in black magic, but also in alchemy and spiritual metaphysics. They are through and through humans, but they have access to a power that most do not. These individuals within the Netflix Castlevania series were only introduced to 3 that have the ability to summon night creatures. Demons from hell who wander the night, obeying the orders of their masters. The night creatures are an integral part of the Netflix series due to the necessity of them. Dracula wants them so that he may wipe out the entirety of the human race. Carmilla wants them so that she can enslave the humans to turn them into livestock. And Isaac wants them to enact his revenge. Of course, with Isaac, he's able to create his own, so he doesn't need to rely on anyone else. But, to move on to the history of Isaac. We are really only shown one flashback of Isaac's childhood, and from this we can gather a few things. To start this segment off, we will start this off with pointing out Isaac's religion. It is pointed out that Isaac is Sufi, which means he practices Sufism. Sufism is variously defined as Islamic mysticism. Essentially, he follows some of the main teachings and practices of the Quran and the Sunnah, albeit stretched. Isaac has pledged his allegiance to Muhammad in service of God. With that being explained, it does hint at a bit more information when it comes to his backstory. The man that Isaac loved and worked under, the man who beat Isaac, seemed to be under a Christian faith as defined by his clothes. The clothes worn by that man are the same that you can see if you remember any of your history books talking about crusaders. So the question here, was Isaac of a Christian belief converted to Sufism after this event? Or was he always a Sufi, but in the process of being converted? The basis of his history and future events within the show confirms to us that Isaac is a man of faith. But what he has faith in can be questionable. With Isaac's history out of the way, let's take a look into exactly who he is and his motivations. Isaac is a man who sees the corruption of humanity, but that is all he can see. For the entirety of Season 2, he has a pretty straightforward path. This is due to him being a side character at this point. Albeit he has a lot of screen time, Season 2 isn't for him. It's for Hector. But it doesn't mean we weren't taught things about him. Isaac is a man who has been hurt by people far and wide, and due to that, he shares no love for them. This is why he agrees to Dracula's plan. Humans are a menace and a blight on the world that Isaac doesn't agree should exist. The entirety of Season 2 shows us Isaac's loyalty to Dracula, and there places him in someone else's story. Where things begin to truly change for Isaac is in Season 3. For every person he meets, for every interaction that is exchanged, Isaac's ideals are challenged, and it starts with the Oasis scene. Just as a side note though, in my Tragedy of Hector video, I was asked why Isaac doesn't look like his video game counterpart, and while there are no confirmed reasons as to why, it does seem that he was closely designed after his voice actor, Frederick McCormick, which could explain the decision. But back to the Oasis though. The Oasis is the first example of Isaac becoming an independent character, no longer living under Dracula's shadow and beginning to form his own story. As he is approached and insulted by these desert dwellers, he lingers on the fact that they do not consider him human. But he isn't immediately aggressive with them. He does try to talk his way out of it. He knows that he can easily kill them, and he hates humans, so why try to talk his way out of it? Isaac may hate humans, but he isn't aggressive unless he has to be, and this is a major part of his development to come. This scene is set to enforce why Isaac despises humans, as the first people that he happens to run into are scum, who try to eat or sell him into slavery. The next interaction with the human that Isaac has is one of a complete opposite experience though. When meeting with the merchant, Isaac is shown a kindness that he had not previously experienced besides that which was given to him by Dracula. Here we get more into Isaac's religion. The merchant mentions that if Isaac has a god, then he also probably has a devil. Now, although we have spoken about this with his history, we will touch on it again here. We know that Isaac is a man of religion, but this line alone depicts two separate stories. There is the normal religious meaning behind the words, and then there's that of Dracula and humans, with Dracula taking the place of God and humans taking the place of the devil. The merchant leaves Isaac with a gift, and they have a good chuckle. This experiencing switching back and immediately being ruined by the town guards. Isaac tries to talk his way out of the problem once again, but once threatened and a sword brandished against him, he changes his views very quickly with one line.
Spoiled by a single act of kindness in this city. And so I attempted to be reasonable, honest, and peaceful.
He unleashes his monsters to wreak havoc and continues on his way to the port. Now we are introduced to one of my favorite characters, the captain. The captain is an integral part of Isaac's growth as well. He opens Isaac's eyes to a lot of what is currently happening around him. The people who have the biggest positive effect on Isaac are those who are not influenced by fear. They are those who have opened their mind to see the world for what it really is, and to not fear Isaac or his night creatures. The talk on the boat with the captain and Isaac, and what is to come after, is the pinnacle of Isaac's character growth. The captain opens up Isaac's eyes and gives him information in a very straightforward way. He doesn't beat around the bush. However, the captain's most important question is, and then what? He questions Isaac's purpose, and he questions what he will do next. He claims that Isaac does not have his own story, and he is simply a part of Dracula's. He makes Isaac think by challenging his ideas. Yes, humanity is corrupt, but humanity is also kind. You cannot eradicate one without eradicating the other. Isaac at this point has felt both, and the captain challenges if that is something he truly wishes to get rid of. He asks him an important question. Why not teach people kindness? Instead of ridding the world of humans, why not teach humans to be better? The captain is integral to Isaac's story and challenges everything that Isaac stands for in a very eye-opening way. The next scene with Isaac, however, gives him once again the completely opposite experience. He once again tries to give the town's guard a chance to let him pass through. When he is once again threatened, here Isaac truly loses his shit and begins to focus more on building his army. He questions his sanity and the slaughter begins. Before we get into the overview, that is Isaac, I want to point out the campfire story with one of Isaac's night creatures. This scene was so powerful. It wasn't necessarily character building for Isaac, but it was just extremely well done. The voice acting, the tone, and the story itself. As I was watching this scene, I found myself drawn in, listening to every detail, every inflection in the voice actor's tone of voice. Simply amazing. With that though, is everything that really needs to be touched on about Isaac's character. The self-harm that Isaac perpetuates is technically synonymous with his faith, but at the same time, it's why most people self-harm. To feel better, to feel something. Within Season 2, we get to see this clearly as he whips himself while the flashback is playing. And to further that reasoning, when he mentions that he is no longer doing it, this is after Dracula's death. He no longer feels nothing. He is grieving for Dracula's death and therefore distracted. He has no reason to cause harm to himself at that point. Isaac isn't a monster. He is a man who has been beaten down by the world and feels the need to take it out on everyone else. He has seen more of humanity's corruption than its kindness, and it has led him down a dark path. But even with that, he still hesitates to kill on sight. He first remains optimistic, but has no problem with resorting to violence. I'm not saying Isaac is misunderstood, because he isn't. It's clear as day that he's wrong, but I want to see the positive changes that he can bring to Wallachia after dealing with Carmilla. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I really enjoy doing Castlevania-based videos, so if there's anything else you'd like to see, please let me know below. And just like you, I can't wait for season 4.